Schaefer, Intercept dropped an article today about Sanders-Warren unity, which argues that unless Biden collapses in the polls or otherwise, Bernie will have to get Warren delegates, and Warren should wait until just before the convention, drop out, endorse Sanders in order to give the Dem establishment as little time as possible to poach for delegates for his centrist candidate. Thoughts? I disagree. I mean, I don't. It's just too many. Look, first of all, I do want to say I can't help but remind people that when there was that minute in the summer when Warren had good polls going, tons of people were like, okay, but you're going to tell Bernie to drop out before Iowa if he's still third, right? So, I mean, I am curious where that energy is now, because Bernie's surging and she is significantly behind. Look, some of the new numbers that I'm seeing from Iowa actually to me are starting to indicate more of the kind of original position that basically some more of her second choice people are becoming him, is my understanding. Is that correct? Is that more of that? There was a period of time where a significant amount of Warren's second choices were actually not Sanders' second choice,
and now increasingly.
And now more. I thought in Iowa there was some new numbers indicating. Anyway, I won't go off of that because then I thought we'd established that, but I won't go off of that because I don't know. But I would just say, keep it simple. Like. The best way for Bernie, look, from the perspective of Sanders right now in terms of what would help, it would help if Elizabeth Warren dropped out and endorsed him. It would help in a much, much, much smaller but not totally insignificant in such a close race if, other people that supposedly are there to help him, like Tulsi Gabbard, dropped out and supported him. That could be a couple of points in New Hampshire. I read the piece. I have a huge amount. I think Ryan Grimm wrote it. I have a huge amount of respect for Ryan. I love Ryan. I thought we had one of the most constructive debates about Sanders versus Warren together. I'm not into all the backflips. I think the best way for Bernie Sanders to get the nomination is for him to run the table and clearly win and assemble as many delegates as possible. And the best way for that to happen is for as many people as possible to line up behind him to actually fight what will be this extraordinarily difficult war. And I've also got to be really blunt. There's some people that insist on totally hating Warren, which people think that I do, which I, in fact, the only people that don't think that I hate Warren are the people that really hate Warren. But the people who are constantly defending Warren and can't, that have trouble with any criticism of her seem to think I'm, have it in for her. I don't. I think look, in 2016, I wish she ran for president, in fact. But, it's just there's a clear, obvious choice in terms of policy, domestic and international, if you're on the left. So it's not that complicated. But I think I will be blunt. And I'm sure that this is, I think Sam definitely has a different view. I'm sure Ryan Grimm has a different view. I'm not 1,000% convinced that Warren goes to the convention and she's running third and she backs Bernie like that. I'm not. And by the way, fine. She clearly has her own political calculations. She chose not to run in 2016 when everybody was urging, including Sanders, were urging her to do it. 2020, Bernie came in as the leader of the left with this movement and this legacy. She chose to run. I mean, she's got her own ambition. She's got her own set. So I don't know what her game plan is. I don't know what her strategy is. I know that I'm focused on electing Bernie Sanders president. And the best way to elect somebody president is for people to support and vote for them in really high numbers, particularly when there probably will be, there will be as much fuckery as possible to block him. So I don't,
Yeah. Yeah, I'm not as convinced that she should drop out immediately, but I also think that for me, the only reason I'm interested in her continuing to run is if there's some sort of convention thing that she can be helpful in. I don't see her as a viable candidate to win this thing at all anymore. So if that's being too hard on Warren, I guess there it is.
Yeah, I mean, I also don't get, like, I mean, if there's anybody that we're like hard on, and I want to make like a really clear distinction. People's records and what they're doing during the campaign, their policy records and what they're doing and the campaign they're running and whether or not they could actually win against Donald Trump is all totally legit. On my Twitter feed, I guess I express my aggravation with the constant selfie stuff. But certainly on this show, if there's any candidate we are hard on in the sense of anytime he misspeaks, sound drops mocking his senility, like calling him an a-hole, like that's Joe Biden. So, I don't know. I think that from the perspective of getting Sanders elected, if Elizabeth Warren tomorrow was like, look, this stuff is actually really important. Bernie has the momentum. It's Sanders or Biden. I know what side of history I'm on, and I'm going to work with everything I can. And I think it will be interesting because I think obviously some of her coalition is absolutely not policy based, and they will turn on her and they will hate her. But I think the people who are in this because they care about the work, the really important work and things that she's put forward on banking and some of the regulations and so on, then great. That's more momentum that we need focused on winning.
Also, if it did happen that she went to the convention and didn't endorse Bernie, I think it would be, I mean, what that would mean for the Democratic Party and how hostile it's going to be, I think it'd be profound.
Especially with the growing, progressive movement in the party and its influence in the House and beyond. Her supporters are now their second choice amongst registered Democrats. Warren supporters now are more firmly behind Bernie as their second choice with a third.
Okay, according in Iowa or nationally?
Nationally.
She should drop out and endorse Bernie. That's what I think. If that's true, if the second choice is tracking, then she should endorse Bernie. She should drop out and endorse.
Upward
then
too.
She shouldn't drop out and endorse Bernie. 100%. 100%. And I'm not going to even lean too heavily into that because honestly, it's just like, run for president. But I do want people to be very aware that several months ago, in a very short period of time, with really a handful of polls, there was like demands that Bernie people like accept that position. So I'm very curious for people who kind of said, and especially they didn't even frame it as what it really was, which was that they support Warren, but actually as like some type of, this is about, left-wing unity going in. Where are you today? Because one of these candidates is surging, and one of them is most decidedly not. Regarding the call yesterday, or is